Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pocket Coach. Today's experiment is hypothesis testing. Also, by the way, some people have been asking about the shirts I wear, which was an unexpected surprise. So I'll just be going ahead and just listening to those quietly in the background. This is the only video I'll ever mention it. So the shirt today is Coral Twist. From now on, it'll just be written down there, and only those of you who watch this video will be in the know. All right, so we'll put our 5-minute timer on the clock. All right, let's talk about hypothesis testing. So basically, in Agile, everything we do is an experiment. If someone says build a feature, if someone says build a new product, if someone says satisfy this request, everything's an experiment. We think it's going to be valuable, but we don't know that it's really going to be valuable. So we need a way to validate whether or not experiments are actually working for us. And this can include product improvement. It can also improve team improvement. Like, let's say we think that something's going to make us better as a team. Well, how do we know if it worked that it made us better? So if you look at some of our other experiments, like the value delivery acceleration experiment 1, you'll see that we have 2 backlogs, one to improve ourselves. We need to validate that those improvements are working on ourselves or on our products. So this video introduces an experiment called hypothesis testing. And in it, you will learn how to test any hypothesis. So first off, what's the problem? We need to know if our experiments, epics, feature stories are successful. Hypothesis, if we can come up with an agreed upon approach to test hypotheses, we'll be much better at creating value. In this case, this is a nice 20-minute experiment. So the pivot or persevere, you're just in for it. You can leave in 10 minutes if you want. And typical outcomes, you should have an increase in understanding of all outcomes for all your experiments going forward. The quality of your outcomes, the way you write them will go up. I just did one today with my client and on a feature, and the before and after, they were like, oh my God, it's so much better once you apply some of this thinking. Finally, skill growth. You've used the hypothesis testing framework to measure the success of one of your experiments or an epic or a feature or a story. You've actually used it. So I'm going to teach you guys the one that I've invented for myself. And if you guys don't like it, you can make up your own. Okay. All right. So the name of my technique is IDEEM. And you can see here, this is my folder with the assets. I have IDEEM. I have a worksheet where you can fill in your IDEEM stuff and then some examples as well from my own world. But let's go into the PowerPoint. Okay. So this deck here, and this is what I'm going to spend the 5 minutes on for my first 5 minutes. I don't know if I'll go beyond that. I think this is a big topic though, so I probably will have to. So IDEEM, that's the technique I use. And the idea is that when you have an experiment, ask yourself what will increase or decrease if you're successful, or what will I enable? Oh, that's backwards. What will I enable that didn't used to exist, or what will I eliminate? Eliminate that is undesirable, right? Or if I run this experiment, if I increase or decrease something, I better maintain these other good things that are already going on. I don't want to mess those up. Okay, so those are the 5 parts of IDEEM. Now, you don't have to use all 5. You could use just one of them. But in general, you always want to have at least 1 increase or 1 decrease for your experiment. You could have more than 1, and you could have 3 increases and nothing else. Enables, eliminates, maintains a little bit different. So let's take a look. All right, so first off, when do we use it? I mentioned before, epics, features. We don't usually use this for stories or tasks. They're too low risk to need this level of rigor, but epics and features are really good projects, programs, right? KPIs, team improvement experiments, product improvement experiments, anything that's kind of risky, we want to make sure it's actually working. So first off, what does it all stand for? We just said it out loud, but here it is. Increase is what would increase that's important to our business. Decrease is what would decrease that's bad for the business, right? Or for whatever the thing is we're trying to improve. Enable is something we can't do, or eliminate something that, man, it'd be great if we didn't have to do that anymore. And maintain, again, is, let's not mess that thing up. Okay, so for the rest of these then, I'm going to quickly spin through them for the first 5 minutes. I'll come back and go through them slowly. So for increase, there are a couple of syntaxes available, and we give you some examples. Decrease has the same syntax as increase, and we give you some examples. Enables are slightly different in their syntax, and they always lead you to another question, which is, okay, if we enable this thing, what would increase or decrease? Right? So if you think about it, if you enable something valuable should increase or decrease now that that's enabled. So you'll see that pattern in the enables. And again, some examples there. Eliminates have the same idea as the enables. If we eliminate that thing, what would increase or decrease? So eliminates and enables are leading indicators. They happen before the increase decreases that we ultimately tie them to will happen. So they're great for leading indicators, but you want both then. So you shouldn't have only an enable or only an eliminate. Then for maintain, this is okay. If this good thing happens, let's make sure we don't mess up this other thing. So it's quite a bit different than the other 4. And then finally, I give you an example of us applying IDEEM to one example. This is one I had handy. I've had way more exciting outcomes than the one here. And that's what we'll wrap up the video with. So in 5 minutes, that's how IDEEM works. I'm going to go ahead and go back through this in the second 5 minutes, and I'll also show you the worksheet and the example. Okay, so if you are interested in that, stick around for the second 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and reset that timer now. And so we're into the second 5 minutes. Okay, so let's go a little slower this time and see what y'all think. So for increase, we have 3 syntaxes. Increase whatever it is you're trying to increase by some percentage from X to Y units. And this is the best choice if you have numbers that you can work with, right? Sometimes you're working with a percentage though, like, market share. You want to increase that by 10%. So in that case, you don't need the X to Y units because you're already working percentages. So you just say what percentage you're trying to change. And sometimes, man, you have no idea units, no idea percentages. You're actually going for something down and dirty. You don't have a lot of time. The risks aren't that high anyway. And so you could just say increase happiness, right? There's no way to measure happiness, but our goal is to increase happiness. We think we're going to increase happiness. Maybe we ask people at the end, hey, was your happiness increased? And we just ask them, right? So this is for when units are tough to understand. So here's some examples. Increase qualified leads by 50% from 100 to 150 leads. So in this case, the unit is leads. The number is 100 to 150, and it's 50%. Another one here, this is a percentage one. Increase relative market share from 30 to 50%. And if I want to be complete, I could say increase happiness. Just increase happiness, right? We can't measure that. Okay. So those are examples of how you might use increase. Now, you might hate this bottom one, right? A lot of people who are very metric driven, like, no, you can't measure it. It's okay, right? If I close a feature, I can go and ask people, did that feature make you happier? And if most people say yes, I can say, yeah, claim victory on that. So you don't have to be precise. You should be directional. Now, of course, these are better. Go for them when you can, but don't avoid these just because if you have no other choice, they're still a great way to close out a feature. It's better than closing out a feature and not knowing if it actually had any value at all, right? For decrease, same syntax, but in this case, for our examples, we have decreased resources spent per paying client by 40% from 5 to 3K. So in this case, our unit was dollars, and there was a 40% decrease. Here, decreased average conversion time by 75% from 8 to 2 weeks. So it took us, 6 weeks less. So those are how you might do a decrease. Now here was an example. So before, somebody wrote significantly reduced planned downtime. That was what they put down for their metric for their experiment. And I'm like, well, what if we apply IDEEM to that? How would we rewrite that? I guess, okay, significantly reduced, we become decrease from the vocabulary of IDEEM. Decrease what? Planned downtime. There's your unit. Okay, how do we measure planned downtime? Oh, in hours, maybe in minutes, maybe in seconds, depends on what you're measuring. So from Y to Z hours, and then when you do the math, that'll be your X%. So now we can go out and find out, okay, cool, what are we trying to reduce it from? And this actually increases the quality of our experiments, okay? So you can see how asking to apply IDEEM improved the quality of the metric. Enable. Okay, so here we're going to do something we couldn't do before. So when you have an enable, always ask, if we enable this, what will increase or decrease? So here's some examples. Someone said, we're going to enable the measurement of customer complaints. That's something we can't currently do today. We know we have customer complaints, but we don't measure them. And if we did, that'd be good for us. Okay, but in what way would it be good for you? If you enable the measurement of customer complaints, what do you think will increase or decrease after that? Well, we should increase customer retention because we know what, they're upset about. And so both of these could and should be tracked, right? So that comment here, this comment here is that both the enabling and the increasing should be captured. So once you've enabled the complaints measurement, that's a victory. But we got to keep measuring until we see whether or not customer retention actually got approved. Here's another one. Enable automatic detection of low oxygen levels. We couldn't do that before. Okay, but let's say we do that. What's going to be increased or decreased? Well, first off, if we did that, we would enable tracking of accidents by type. Today, we don't even measure by type, it's just accidents. But if we do by oxygen levels as well as other types, now we actually have it by type. And now we should be able to see a decrease in accidents due to oxygen deprivation. Okay, so again, this enable led to another enable, but then ultimately we still have the question and we got to a decrease. Eliminate has the exact same kind of idea. Here in the examples, we're going to eliminate 3 data servers. Great. If you eliminate them, what will increase or decrease? We will decrease the cost of development. We will decrease the cost of environment maintenance. Here, we're going to eliminate the need for disposable batteries in our product. Okay, well, cool. If we eliminate them, what will that increase or decrease? This will decrease landfill waste attributed to disposable batteries by 2% from Y to Z pounds. And so you can see the unit pounds. Again, asking what will be eliminated or what will increase or decrease yielded fruit. Next up is maintain. So for the maintain, here we say we're going to increase a story written per hour by 500%. We're going to be able to write 40 stories when it used to take us 8 with this new idea. Okay, but well, you better maintain your sprint accuracy. Right now, you're 80 to 120%. We don't want to see that go down because you're writing stories faster, and now the stories are not good, right? So that would be a maintain. Here, increase team productivity. Oh, okay, but you better maintain work-life balance of 40 hours per week. You better maintain the quality of work, right? So again, these are maintains to balance out what might be bad. And finally, this is a real example. A bunch of lieutenants in, I don't know if it was Chicago or something, they were asked to reduce major crimes. And so everyone's like, okay, and we'll give you a big bonus if you reduce major crimes in your city. So what they do, all the officers didn't want to get the lieutenant in trouble, so they started downgrading major crimes to minor crimes, and that way there was a reduction in major crimes, and they weren't the reason their lieutenant didn't get rewarded, right? So they're not even doing it maliciously; they're doing it honorably to help their lieutenant that they're loyal to. But if you also maintain the number of minor crimes, we would have detected that particular technique. So you do not ever want to reward metrics. I'm going to have a separate video on how to use metrics to change behaviors. And if you reward metrics, it's a disaster. So stay tuned for our video on how to use metrics to drive real improvement. And you'll see what we'll talk about this case study and what we could have done differently. All right, that's my second 5-minute time box. I'm going to reset this timer one last time for a total of 15 minutes for the whole video. And let's wrap this thing up. So next up, applying IDEEM to an existing item. So somebody said, oh, I'm like, what's your objective that they want? And they said, our objective is we're going to have a high performance encryption for secure WAN. That's our objective. And I'm like, well, no, but how do you measure the success of that? So we apply IDEEM. Okay, so the first thing is they couldn't do this before. So we realized this is an enable. So one objective, one outcome, one IDEEM metric is enable high performance encryption for secure WAN. Cool. Now, if we do that, what will increase or decrease? We're starting to apply that thinking. Thought number one, maybe we'll increase security. Well, what's the units for increased security? Maybe that's not measurable. Maybe it is. If you can come up with units for it, you can make an IDEEM increase or decrease for it. If you can't come up with a unit, move on. Thought two, decrease time for secure data transfer. Okay, that's time. I know how to measure time. Well, from what number to what number? What is it at today? What's the target? So we look into it, and perhaps we realize we can increase secure data upload speed 1,000%. Currently 250 kilobits per second. It'll be 2.5 megabits per second, right? So that seems more promising as an IDEEM measure. Thought number three, what about data breaches, right? Well, if the improvement will decrease transfer speed, that may not really be designed to decrease breaches. Maybe they're not related, but we better not make breaches easier to do now that we're transferring data faster. I don't know if that's even related. I'm kind of sort of spitballing here. This might be the perfect time for a maintain. So in that case, okay, but you better maintain security breaches, so secure data at 4%. We're currently running at 4%. If this increases, if we are doing it faster, we better not get worse quality. In this case, more breaches. Okay. So in the end, we started with before high performance encryption for secure WAN, and after we had an increase of secure data upload and a maintained security breaches with the corresponding numbers there. So that is an example of applying IDEEM thinking to someone's existing work. I have way more exciting examples than this. I just did one today, but that's what I had handy, so that's what we used. Okay, the last thing I want to do is show you what else we have in here. There's a lot of other guides and stuff, but the things I'm most curious about here showing you. One is this worksheet. So all you got to do is put down your IDEEMs, and then you can put down what you think your targets are for those. And so down here are the original goals. In pink, we have the original goals. Up here in green, we have, okay, what actually happened? And then we can compare that. A great example of this is we once were told that if we reduced, what were they called? These parameter exceptions. That's right. They called them parameter exceptions. They're like, Anthony, if your team reduces our parameter exceptions by 5%, you will have paid for your contract. I'm like, okay, I don't even know what a parameter exception is, but I like that we have an increase or decrease, right? Decrease parameter exceptions by 5%. What are they at now? And that's my X to Y. And I can, actually, I don't need an X to Y because it's already a percent. So right now they're at 28%, right? So whatever. So what's great is when we came back a year later to see how our work went, they showed the metric, and the metric was that we had actually reduced parameter exceptions by 95%. Now, you all don't even know what a parameter exception is. I can explain it to you. Not important right now, but the goal was 5%. So down here in the pink, we would have had a decrease, inequality one, decrease parameter exceptions by 5%. Actuals, we decreased parameter exceptions by 95%. So it was a massive improvement. But if you didn't have the goal of 5%, you wouldn't know if 95% was good, great, on target, behind target. But knowing that goal was 5 and we got 95, that's like, wow, you guys really blew it out. That's why you want to have the goals as well as the actuals. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you guys as my timer runs down is some examples. And this, again, is from real work. So here are three. In this case, we were working with pilot projects. And so, and these were actuals. These were not forecasts. So we wanted to decrease time. So this is 30% decrease in time to production. So 2.5 months. So you can see this isn't quite following the syntax that I showed you. We did this a long time ago, but you can see how we could easily rewrite this to match the syntax. Increased value, 50% decrease in time to first value, 4 months, 23% increase in cost savings in the first 20 months. So we can apply the syntax a little bit more tightly to these. Same thing here, right? 40% decrease in time to delivery, and down here, 25% decrease in time to deploy, 2 weeks. So all we have to do is just say decrease time to deploy from X weeks to 2 weeks, 25%. Okay. So there you have it. Some examples here. So that is IDEEM. That is one way that you can measure your experiments. And we hope you found this video useful. So if you like the video, awesome. We'll be approaching out a whole lot more over